Toucan Play That Game is proudly sponsored by NiceGameShop.com, the place to go for rare and unusual Asian games. Good morning and welcome to Diaries of a Board Game YouTuber for Monday the 16th of October 2017. And this is all a bit different because I am trying to do this live. Now at the moment I have no idea if this is working, so let me take a look at YouTube and see if I can see if this is working, just kind of get an idea. Now I did try setting up an event and that did not work quite so well. Now, having clicked onto YouTube, it does say I'm live, and hi Adam, nice to see you. Yeah, I don't know, I tried to play my usual credits. I don't know if that worked, I don't know if that broke the attempt using the kind of live event that I had set up. But yeah, so a big part of what this video is going to be is my usual diaries. I'm going to go through that, give people a chance to join, usual statistics, etc. And hopefully, you know, it's all going to work. Because what happened before was that the broadcaster thing I'm using, which is called XSplit, crashed. That seemed to be what went wrong with the first attempt. So hopefully that's not going to go wrong again. Once I've done the usual diaries, I'm then going to open it up for chat, and in the kind of Q&A section I'm going to try and have the actual chat window showing, and we'll see how well that works. A large part of what I'm doing here is I'm trying to just get more used to doing live stuff and getting it working well, ready for doing live plays, which I have ordered a camera because I do have my trusty camera here, which has worked really well for me for just recording here, for recording at conventions. It's click and play basically, you know, it's so simple and easy to use. There's a few settings and stuff you can tweak, but otherwise pretty easy. But it doesn't work as a webcam, and so I had two options. I could either get a what's called a capture card, which has several £100, or I could have got a webcam. So I've ordered a webcam that will be USB webcam, so I should be able to have that then pointing at the game using the integrated one pointing at me, and that should be enough, I think, to oh, what's going on? My computer has just frozen. I have no idea if it's still working or not. I'm going to assume it's still working and carry on. So yeah, I'm going to get to like questions and responding to chat afterwards, but let's do the usual kind of diary stuff. So this week there have been 3 videos which were all for Unfair, which is a game from Call Me or Not. It was a Kickstarter, was released retail a while ago. It's about building up a theme park, Funfair. Fantastic theme with these great fun decks. You can have like pirates and robots and all sorts. Absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, I found the game a bit too mean. If you want to see more about my thoughts, etc., there's a 2-part playthrough and then my review that you can watch now. So, going into the figures, and you'll notice that nothing is coming up on screen. Now, I was going to try and do that, having like the image appear on screen like I normally would with the edited stuff, like if the game was talked about appearing. I looked at doing that and it's going to be very difficult, partly because the way I'd need to do it is I need to set it up as separate scenes on XSplit, but I'm limited to 4 scenes for XSplit without paying like $700-800, which given I'm just delving into doing live broadcasting, I really don't want to spend that amount of money. So that's kind of where I'm coming at from that. So that kind of stopped me being able to do that because I've got one for the intro, one for the credits, one for what you're seeing now, and then one that will pull the, well, hopefully pull the chat in. We'll see if that actually works. But fingers crossed. I'm positive at the moment. This one is going a lot better than the last one where it crashed. So anyway, figures. Facebook, 3,273 likes on Facebook. So this is a very small increase, pretty much staying the same. I'm not too worried about that at the moment. I think I'm going to worry more about things once Essen's out of the way, because everyone's so Essen focused at the moment. I'm not too worried about trying to pull away from that. I'm not going to Essen. I've not got any Essen focused content. The closest thing I've got is maybe like playthroughs of Alien Artifacts and a few other games, Pulsar from CGE, that are releasing at Essen, that there's not really a lot of footage, so people are watching those a bit more than normal anyway. Twitter, we have 10,468 followers on Twitter, so this is decrease, but again, I'm not worrying about it. Yeah, I think that's same decrease as I had increase last week, so holding fairly level there. And it's at such a high number that I don't worry about Twitter at all anymore, especially figures wise. YouTube subscribers, we have 5,360 subscribers, so that's a nice healthy increase, I would say. But what matters most is views, and that's what we're on to now. So 348,716 views. This is great. This means we're still doing really well on the views. My target is around 5,000. This was 6,000 views this week, so absolutely great. Now, Massive Darkness, as we go into the analytics, is still the most watched, is still the thing causing that. But it's only 1,000 views this week. And so, you know, that 1,000 off still means I'm hitting, even excluding Massive Darkness, I'm hitting that 5,000 target. So I'm really happy with that. And that's with everyone kind of focused on Essen at the moment. So really pleased to see that. The other views are pretty much coming from the evergreen videos, which I haven't talked about in a while, but these are the videos that just keep coming up in search hits, etc. So it's my top 10 board games, how to play videos, especially for like Time Stories, Terraforming Mars, Sushi Go Party, things like that. So that's the figures. Before we go on to the Q&A section, the only thing I want to talk about is what's coming next week. So next week we're going to have hopefully 3 videos for The Valley of the Alchemists. This is coming to Kickstarter on Tuesday, so all 3 videos should go up then. There's going to be a how to play, playthrough, and also a review. Now, the how to play and playthrough are paid videos. The review is not a paid video. This is a video that I did for free for them after having played them. I really enjoy the game. It's light set collection and engine building, but I think people who like Splendor, things like that, are going to really enjoy it. And then I'm also going to have 3 videos for The Godfather, which I don't have here, which is a kind of indication of how I got on with that. I think it's quite a good game, but not for me. Again, here, I think it's going to be a playthrough, short review, and a review. I think that's the 3 videos. I've not done a how to play because I think Rodney did such a great job with his how to play. There's just no reason to do another one. So let's now move on to the Q&A, which is going to be our scene 3, and let's see if I can get the chat to appear. So hopefully this will work, and push to live. So hopefully we should now have the chat appearing on the screen. It's not. Let's try clicking push live again. Push live. Okay, it looks like it has gone live now. So there we go. Now we can see the chat on screen. So obviously I think it's not showing a huge amount of the chat, so there is a fair amount of it missing there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go scroll back and go through the chat that I've missed while I've been just kind of going through the normal Diaries stuff. So we had Adam said that there's a tribble on my camera. Yeah, it does kind of look like a tribble. Whenever I saw tribbles in Star Trek, it just made me go, I really want one of those. I love cuddly animals and stuff, and they just look like the ultimate cuddly animal. So yeah, I have my tribble on my camera there. Very nice to have. Luke, will I be inviting subscribers to join in on the live plays? That is my plan. What I'm hoping to do, Luke, is do kind of a lunch club, like lunch games, so short games that will fit in an hour, maybe even have it specifically a set day of the week, haven't decided yet, where I'm going to do these kind of games that people can play along online. So it won't necessarily be a typical two-player setup, but we'll be playing it as a two-player with me as one player and the audience as another player, as subscribers, whoever's on that live feed, being able to go, all right, do this move for us, do this move. So games I'm looking at doing this with that I have primarily that spring to mind as particularly good ones because of length, etc. Codenames I think will work fantastically well for this, with like me being the clue giver and the rest of you guessing, and have one person as a team captain who kind of tallies results and is the person who says for definite what the answers is, and then we go from there type thing. I also think number 9 will work really well, so anyone who has it can just like play along with me being like the bingo caller and doing mine as well, and then we can like talk about who had the best scores and stuff. I think that one will work well. What else? Concept I think will work very well. I can be doing the clues and stuff like that, so I think that should work great. And yeah, I need to think of other games. If anyone has any suggestions or any games you'd particularly like to see done on a live play, then obviously do let me know. And then Luke also asks, I only tend to get 2-player board game action with my wife, occasionally 3 players, so like the idea of getting involved in bigger groups. Yeah, I had very much the same when I was starting to get into the hobby. I actually find now my wife is less interested in the gaming, and I do a lot more gaming less with my wife. Since starting the channel, really, I've gotten into more game groups and going to various game groups and stuff. So I do a lot more of that and less gaming with my wife, which is kind of a shame, but I do really enjoy when I just sit down with my wife and play games still. And that was the idea of Toucan Play That Game. That was the majority of my gaming, and I wanted to assess any games that I was covering on the channel from how they would play as 2 players for that specific reason. Not to mention also kind of the perspective of having variants or own rulings on how you can make them 2-player. Like the one I've done that the best on, I think, is probably Black Fleet. Most I tend to kind of look at and go, yeah, there's a reason they didn't make this 2-player, and it just won't work if they do. But I also like to say, oh, they're not going to make it good as well. So let's see what we got next. I've got so much to catch up on. So Adam and Luke were having a little conversation, so that's pretty cool. Nice to see subscribers not only interacting with me, but with each other, creating a nice community feel then. Talking about Tabletopia and Tabletop Simulator, yeah, they're great tools, Luke, if you do want to be able to game with other people, but you're not with other people, that's a great way to do it. I'm doing the whole live broadcasting really brings it out. I tend to not do that so much in my videos. I tend to avoid it, but the live broadcasting definitely is bringing that out in me. So going back to that, if you can find local groups, that's definitely a great way to do it. Not people playing in their houses, but people playing in the pub, etc. I'm sure you know the kind of places to go to find that. If you do want any help on like groups that you can go to, there's a great Facebook group where you can post, say, does anyone know of any games clubs in this area, etc., that might be good for you as well. And yeah, as Adam's saying, the Tabletopia stuff, and it allows you to play games with anyone, anywhere in the world, which is fantastic. It still, to my mind, isn't as good as being across a table with someone, but it does give you a good feel, and if you're otherwise not able to get to people and have that interaction, it's really good to then be able to do that, and I think it's a fantastic tool to have there for people. So Luke says he's got a Steam account, so yeah, if you've got Steam, you can definitely, both Tabletopia and Tabletop Simulator are on there, so you definitely can get it on there. What I would say is they often have sales on for Tabletop Simulator, so I'd keep an eye out for one of those sales. Don't just go out and buy it at the full price. And as Adam said, Tabletopia is free, or some games you have to pay for on there, but there's a lot of free ones, so that's a really good thing to keep an eye out for. So who else we got on? Behind the Box, which is, let me remember, Chris, isn't it? It's Chris at Behind the Box. Hi Chris, thanks for being on. Sorry, it's so many channels and stuff, it's like trying to remember, because it can be quite difficult when you're seeing not the person's name. So I very much appreciate you guys knowing my name. And yeah, trying to keep in mind, because you think, like, you're always seeing not the person's name, you're seeing the channel name, and then you're trying to think, okay, I do know their name, I have watched their videos, I know their name, it is. But it doesn't come to mind immediately in the same way that the channel name does, that you're seeing all the time. So then the next thing we have on chat, Adam said, ISO want number 9. Yeah, I mean, I'd say get it. I don't think there's any kind of shortage, etc. On that. I did see a while ago there was someone posted up in one of the groups. There was a sale on it for £15, and it was like, oh my god, that's amazing. I mean, it's not expensive anyway. It's like £25, but still getting it for like half price. But unfortunately, by the time I clicked on that to like check it out, it was already all gone, all their stock, which is unsurprising really when someone has such an amazing deal like that. But I'd definitely suggest getting it. I mean, if you've seen the video and stuff, you can basically play along at home almost by just kind of going, oh, well, I would put it there, I'd put it there. It can still be a fun one to play along with. So Luke agrees, playing the real thing is much better. Yeah, I think anyone who plays board games, a big part of that is getting around a table together to be able to do that. So I don't think anyone's going to argue that it's better not to. I want to hide behind my computer. It's just not the kind of hobby where that's the case, really. I did get Chris's name right. Brilliant. That's good to know. So yeah, any other questions or anything? I mean, I've kind of scheduled, I can carry this on until 12, which is kind of my planned time to then have lunch. So if you guys have questions, I mean, thank you for being on anyway. I mean, that means a lot. I know there's not a huge number of people on, but just having anyone be on and be wanting to interact with me does mean a great deal. And I've noticed that the people who are on, they are names that I do see commenting and liking a lot of my content. For those of you who are watching this potentially later. So it's not a surprise to see you guys on. You're very supportive, and I really do appreciate it from you guys. What am I having for lunch? I haven't actually decided yet. I'll probably have a sandwich, because that tends to be what I have most days, like a sandwich and a bit of fruit. I was meant to be going for a run today, and I did have a pattern of I'd go for a run, have a tin of tuna, and then have a piece of fruit. But I don't know if you were aware, I had food poisoning last week, and we're fairly sure that was the result of having a tin of tuna. So I'm kind of off of tuna at the moment, so my kind of go-to lunches are tuna or sandwiches. So it's going to be chicken sandwich, pretty much, and that's pretty much all I'm going to be eating for lunches for a while for now, because yeah, I've got a bit of a block in my head about tins of tuna. I didn't know this going until recently, until looking into this because of the food poisoning. But apparently, food poisoning from tinned fish is really, really common. Like 1 in 10 people get poisoned by a tin of fish. Or not get poisoned, like 1 in 10 tins will poison someone. I was like, hang on, how have I never been poisoned before? I eat hundreds of tins and yeah, just been lucky, I guess. So Adam asks, will I do the games via Tabletopia or Tabletop Sim? I hadn't actually considered doing that, just because of the medium. I then need to kind of catch it and put it into here, which might be possible, but it's going to be a bit beyond me. I mean, I'm just getting used to doing this whole live streaming stuff. That is definitely an option further down, but I find that I'm not very good on the computer at doing the whole moving around and stuff, and I feel that will lose something. For me, gaming is a bit of having the screen, having the physical components, but I want to be sharing that with you guys, is what I'm looking at, doing it rather than doing it over Tabletop Simulator or Tabletopia, etc. But there's definitely the potential to do that in the future, and potentially just play games anyway with people, but it's finding the time tends to be the big thing. So like this is setting aside a small amount of time, isn't too bad. So what's next we got? Luke asks, what conventions in the UK are you planning on attending in the coming months? So in the coming months, I'm going to be at Uncon on the 28th, so I'm not going to Essen, unfortunately. But I will be at Uncon. I feel like I saw a question about Aircon, but then didn't answer it. But then I can't find it in the chat now. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, going back to it. Yeah, so I'll be going to that, which is like a one-day convention down in Kent. I might be going to Dragon Meet in December. I haven't decided yet. I've not been invited to that as media. I've not got any sort of press pass or anything for that. So it would be just whether or not I want to go. And the problem is it's the cost of getting into London. It's just like, if I want to go to London for the day, I'm looking at spending a good £50, £100 to do that, without then even factoring in the cost of tickets while I'm there. So it's kind of just deciding whether or not it's worth it. I've seen a few reviewers say that as conventions go, that isn't necessarily the best. It's more of a go to buy games and not very good for reviewers per se to actually try games. Pardon me. The one I'm probably most looking forward to isn't really in the next few months, but is Aircon. So that's why I thought I'd seen something about Aircon and I was going to answer that. Yeah, I'm hoping to do a panel there. It's not been kind of fully arranged or anything, but as soon as the previous Aircon that I was at last year finished, I was speaking to Mark, who's the guy who arranges it, Mark and Ben, they're behind it all, and saying, I loved it, I want to come back, you know, will you have me there as press type thing? And he said yes. So I'm a very firm supporter of Aircon. I'm going to be a very firm supporter of Aircon. I found it to be my favourite convention. Now, UKG is fantastic. It has so many people and it has so many people doing games and stuff and presenting games that you can join in with and play and demo and stuff, which is great. But it's so big that it feels kind of overwhelming a lot of the time and not terribly welcoming. Aircon is just this friendly, amazing environment. Like last year, you'd walk in and over half the hall was open gaming. You know, I've not seen any convention do that. And there was plenty of, I spent most of my time going around demoing games. There were still tons of games there to demo, plenty of games for me to demo from a personal, individual perspective. And then in the evenings, tons of games to play. Everyone was just so friendly. It just had this feel about it that was just absolutely fantastic. You know, yeah, it was absolutely lovely being there. The one downside was the food at the place, but I won't make that mistake again. I found some lovely restaurants, by the way. There was a pizza place across from the convention hall. I can't remember, Marcello, something like that. Absolutely fantastic pizza place. It was filled with locals, so that's a good sign. And there was another place we went to as well that was more nearer the hotel kind of entrance we were staying at. But yeah, I'm going off on one really. So let's go back to what other people are saying. Yes, interacting with you. So Chris says, oh damn, fish is poison. Yes, it is. It really is, apparently. So yeah, I think it's the tinned fish, the way they treat them and stuff. But yeah, that seems to be the case. Okay, apparently there is some issues going on with the video. I'm getting a message from YouTube. I don't know why that is. I don't know how to fix it. I need to like tech support constantly on hand, but there's not very much I can do about that. So let's see. Going back to what Luke said. Is it Luke? Oh, Chris. Oh, forgotten. Where am I? Who am I? Oh yeah, Chris was saying about food poisoning. Luke says playing live games. It would be good to see playing games around a table with a group too. Yeah, that's something I would love to do. Unfortunately, like when I first set out to do the channel, I was like, everyone I know, anyone want to record games with me? And just no one has any interest in being on camera, playing games. I managed to get my wife to do one like playthrough that we recorded live with the both of us, as long as it was only facing the table and not looking at us, which was the Waggle Dance video playthrough, and that's been it. Oh no, she did actually. She helped. She was very good, and she helped me out with the Ravens of Fry Sahashri as well, because I couldn't do a playthrough solo. But she said she didn't want to do it anymore. She didn't enjoy it. She didn't want to be part of that, which I think is perfectly fine. Just because I'm choosing to do it doesn't mean she should have to. And she does a lot to support me. I mean, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to do this, because this isn't really making enough money to support us. But luckily, she's willing to allow that to be the case and make up the difference on her side, really. So, yeah. If anyone wants to come and play a game with me at any point, I would love that. We'd need to find a venue to do it in, because my wife isn't happy with me having random strangers from the internet come here, which I suppose is okay, but yeah. So yeah, next we got Adam. What's Dragon Meat like? I'm considering. I'm just not sure about it. That's the same situation I'm in, Adam. I've not actually been to Dragon Meat before. I saw a lot of images and pictures the last few years, and have been like, well, it's only in London. It's not that hard. I've even got relatives who live in London, so I could potentially try and stay with them. But yeah, I don't know. As I say, I've heard from reviewers that it's just not very good from a demoing games point of view, that there's not a lot of that going on. It's very sales focused. Yeah, so I think really it speaks to people who have been more, might be the way. I still haven't decided if I'm going to go, as I say. So Chris says, we are going to Aircon 2. I can't wait for it. Yeah, it'd be great to see you guys there, definitely. I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, obviously you've got media, so you might want to talk to Mark and see if, I don't know if you'd want to do it, but look at maybe getting on a panel or two or covering events. As I say, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be recording stuff, etc. But there's no harm in having more people there doing stuff. So, you know, just get involved, talk to the organisers and stuff. If you need me to kind of introduce you to Mark, just let me know and I can sort that out. I can give you his email address, etc. And that's not a problem. So, Adam, I like the look of Aircon though. I do wish they would go into more detail on what's going on at the con. I think a big part of that is they don't have all the details yet. So what I do know is they're going to have a huge amount of open gaming. They're going to have a big area for people doing demos, etc. I don't know, are you looking at doing... are you looking at demoing your game? Are you looking at it from that point of view? Or are you looking from attending, Adam? What kind of aspect is it? What is there that you would like to know is going on? Basically, it's going to be similar to what happened last time, just bigger and more of it. And you can see some of my footage, actually, from Aircon to kind of see what you think. It's terrible audio. My audio from the UK Games Expo was better because I don't have it here, but I used the separate audio recorder, and that worked a lot better. But yeah, I mean, you can see some of it, so that would be good. One big draw, obviously, is Rodney from Watch It Played is going to be there, so that's amazing. It's the first time he's been in the UK, so that'll be cool. So Luke says, Aircon TCPTG Epic board game session. Yeah, I mean, potentially. I don't know. I don't think it would be a live thing, definitely, but I could always talk to Mark and try and arrange something like that. But I do know, I mean, if you're interested in giant board game sessions, I know they're going to have Mega Karuba, which I played last time, which is good fun. They're also going to have Mega Number 9 as well, so you'll be able to do that. Adam says he'll volunteer for live play if I want. I mean, as I say, yeah, it's figuring out somewhere to then do the live play from is part of the problem, and having Wi-Fi and stuff, because as I say, my wife's a bit worried about. And as Luke says, stranger danger. Yes, that's pretty much what it comes down to. I'm far too trusting for my own good. And like when I was doing my Kickstarter campaign, I had things in there that were like, come to my house and have dinner with me and play a game and stuff. My wife was like, please don't invite random strangers around our house and give out our address and stuff. So I'm incredibly trusting and think that everyone is lovely and will be lovely because I am that way. And I kind of forget that you never know. And yeah, luckily my wife takes care of that kind of side of things and knocks some sense into me, I guess. So Chris then says, I'll send Mark a message today on Twitter, see what becomes of it. Good idea, thank you. Yeah, I mean, he's a great guy. He's really friendly, so I wouldn't worry about that. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry about emailing him. He's always giving out his email. I'm surprised he's not just 90% junk mail with the amount of times he gives out his email and stuff. Because obviously he does all the stuff on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. And he's often just saying, contact me if you have any questions. So, I mean, if anyone does want more info on Aircon and I'm not answering the questions, you can always contact Mark. He's very responsive as well to stuff, despite having his own little baby at home, who must be only like 5 months now. I'm surprised how much he manages to do. So, Adam, I do want to demo, but wanted to know what else was going on, either panel-wise, talks, etc. But it does sound good. Yeah, I mean, it is great convention. As I say, there's going to be big games being played. There was also last year, I don't know if it's definitely going to be this time, but there was like giant wits and wagers. Each year they do a board game quiz, which is just so difficult. And you can watch my recording on the board game quiz from this year, actually. So that's really good. They've got a lot of events and things going on. Panel-wise this year, all they really had was they had a Room 101 board game thing with a load of us media types on. Small audience, but the big pool there was Paul Grogan. Paul Grogan's going to be there again with all the CGE stuff and other stuff that he's worked on and stuff as well. But yeah, the big celebrity guest who is probably going to be doing a panel or something is Rodney from Watch It Played. With regards to publishers being there, big publishers don't tend to be there, but there was a lot of people there, a lot of people demoing games last year. I would say try and make sure you get a good spot potentially. I know Wutan were kind of tucked away and it really hurt them. There's always a big bring and buy there as well, so that's another thing. They have lots of RPGs going on, they have quiet play areas. Yeah, I mean, any questions, you can always ask me, and if not, you can ask Mark himself. If you email him, he'll be really quick to respond and stuff. I don't know what the prices are like, but I would imagine a lot less than, say, UKG and things like that with regards to having a kind of table there to be exhibiting. So where have we got? Yeah, I mean, I'd rather not go into London, as you say, it's expensive to do that. But yeah, I mean, if we can sort out somewhere to kind of meet up and play a game, that wouldn't be a problem. I'd be happy to do that. Obviously, if you wanted to do it with your game, then that's potentially an option as well that we can look at doing. It's just a case of then sorting out a time that will work, etc. Just so you're aware roughly where I am, because I can't remember where you're based. I've got in my head that it was Cambridge, but that might be wrong. But I'm Oxfordshire, so round Oxfordshire would work for me, and obviously I do drive and stuff as well. So, Liverpool. Okay, so Adam's around Liverpool. So yeah, it'd probably be a meet halfway kind of thing would probably work best. Yeah, we'll try and sort something out anyway. Right, I'm just going to have a quick drink while we see if we've got any other questions then. I think we did have someone briefly join us. Not sure who it was. I think they've gone now. Will I be doing Gen Con or Essen next year? If I win the lottery? Is that a reasonable response? That's kind of how I feel. Yeah, Gen Con would be amazing to go, and I think it would be amazing to improve the channel as well, because obviously I think I do quite a good job with the channel and stuff, but I'm not in with the publishers. I get very few free games, if any. The majority of like free games I get is where I'm doing like paid stuff for Kickstarters. I get the occasional game from Osprey, but I keep giving them bad reviews, so they've kind of stopped sending me them again. Because what happened is they were giving me games, they were great games, and I was giving them good reviews, and then they started being bad games, and I was giving them bad reviews, and then they stopped sending me them. And then their PR guy changed, and they started sending me games again, and then I gave them bad reviews, so I've not had any more games since. Which is kind of reasonable, really. If I'm going to give them games bad reviews, it's understandable that they're not going to send me them. So it'd be good to kind of get more interaction with those publishers, be more in the publishers' minds for them to be actually willing to send me games. And it's not that I haven't tried to contact them and stuff. I very much have. Majority of those who are US based especially have no interest in working directly with UK people who are reasonable sized publishers anyway. Anyone Asmodee associated, it's go for Esdevium, and Esdevium feel I'm too small to be relevant. So yeah, I think both, you know, Gen Con and Essen, being able to be there and be like, yeah, I'm media, is a big deal. And I think a lot of people get their review copies that way, and it also gets them in the door with those publishers. So being able to do that would be fantastic, but it comes down to money. I looked at Essen for this year, and it's not in the budget. I mean, if I have a super successful Kickstarter, then maybe I'll look at doing it next year, or if I win the lottery. It just comes down to money rather than time or anything like that. So Adam then asks, what is that t-shirt about that you're wearing? This. Yes. Okay. So on Facebook, there's a board game trading and chat group on Facebook. And basically this is a t-shirt just to show I'm a member of that group. I support that group. It's my favourite place on YouTube. Not on YouTube, sorry, on Facebook. It's a Facebook group, not YouTube group. And yes, so that's my favourite place. That's my favourite community in Facebook, really. It's the most supportive. It's where I do or have done a lot of promoting. I've done a lot of extra giveaways. Part of that is that it is UK based, and I like to push and be that I am UK. I don't want to be shut up and sit down and people to feel that way of you have abandoned the UK, you're from the UK but you've gone abroad. Now I don't feel that way myself, because I completely understand why they've done that. I see the figures, I see, you know, how many people are watching from America, or, you know, Canada, North America, South America, the rest of the world compared to the UK. The UK are very unresponsive, very unengaged, very uninterested comparatively. And so it's perfectly understandable that they've done that. However, I do see myself as a UK person, and I want to keep doing that. The reason I wear it so often is because I put on a lot of weight. I know I'm cheap about buying clothes, so I don't want to buy too many. I did recently buy some more t-shirts, so you might have noticed those appearing. But a lot of my clothes don't fit anymore. This was one of the few things. I picked it up at UK Games Expo. So it was picked up recently. I don't buy a lot of clothes. So yeah, I mean, that's why I wear it, and it's just about that. So Chris asks, do you do much reaching to them, or do they contact you? The US makes sense for the reason you've mentioned. They do no contacting me, basically. With the Kickstarter stuff, I get various emails to various degrees of just junk mail where they just spam everyone going, will you do our game, to people who actually know the channel and are interested. I get the occasional thing through that, but for the most part it's me contacting them. There's a reviewers group that I'm in, which is a big source for kind of Kickstarter, especially people to find reviewers and reviewers to find publishers. And so there's a lot of communication that kind of goes there. But with regards to other relationships and communication, I've kind of given up to a degree. For the first year, I was very much, I've done a video, contacting, emailing, and just never really getting much feedback or response from people. And so, yeah, I found it very difficult. A lot of companies won't even respond. The ones who do will often just be, sorry, you're too small. Even if I'm just saying, here's a video, do what you want to do with that information. Very few are willing to share that on their media, etc. It's one of these things. The bigger you are, the bigger you get, and the smaller you are, the more you struggle to get that attention and growth and relationship building. And I think a big part of it is they don't want you cold knocking on the publisher's door. They don't want you emailing them, having never met them, having never spoken to them. In the same way as a reviewer, you prefer if you've met a person, like I've met Adam, and so I'm more willing to work with him to help promote his game and stuff. They feel the same way when it comes to media. And so you've got to then find a way to meet them, and that really comes down to conventions. So that's the way to kind of build those relationships, I think. So Chris then asks, are you looking to do another Kickstarter? Yeah, I'm probably going to be doing one similar sort of time, March kind of time next year, because that's the end of the year, setting up for the next financial year. I'm going to be setting it higher because I need to start getting more money coming in, just to be looking towards the future, towards having things are okay. We're not in trouble at the moment, but I'm not contributing. I've not even covered the past year's costs and stuff for the channel yet. So that's kind of why I need to be looking to increase that. So the Kickstarter this year made, I think it was £3,000, and I'm going to need it to be more than that, frankly. The costs from the last couple of years of doing this have still not yet been covered completely. Obviously, a big part of that cost is games. Because people aren't sending me the games, I'm having to buy them. And I do try and balance that out with then selling on a lot of games as well. But yeah, that's a big part of the costs. But I need to also then kind of try and make a living, make money. I do this full time. I love doing it. I want to carry on doing it. So I'm just going to have to see how the Kickstarter then performs, really. This year I did have my final stretch goal was if I reached £10,000, I'd go to Essen, for example, and I got nowhere near that. It was a very painful experience. It was very long, drawn out, and the Kickstarter did struggle a lot. And I don't know how to do that better, but I'm going to try post Essen, because at the moment everyone's so busy in the industry. I'm leaving it till post Essen, and I'm going to try and reach out to some larger publishers and get more support from them with regards to the Kickstarter, hopefully. But I'll just have to see how that goes. I think if I could get, say, Cool Mini on board with providing some promos, that might help. But part of the problem is that, especially the publishers, but I think the community at large, are having kind of fatigue about promos nowadays. So getting hold of promos is going to be difficult. I think it's not just a case of getting hold of promos, because a lot of the promos I had a few promos, but they weren't exclusive. You need exclusive promos. You look at campaigns that do really well, your Man vs Meeple, etc. They had so many exclusive promos and support from publishers, and they always have, but it's because they've been part of that US industry for a long time and building up those relationships to get that support. So I'm going to see what I can do, and yeah, it'll just be what it will be. If I can't manage to get more income coming in, I will look at actually saying, what I'll probably do is have like a level that is, if I hit this level, the channel will continue, but it will be as a hobby. I think I'm going to have that as my kind of Kickstarter goal. So that will be a covering costs. That's what that will be. Then the next kind of major goal with regards to me and the channel will be then going part-time. So I will get a part-time job to help contribute to bills, and I'll do the channel part-time, so like 2-3 days a week, whatever. That would then be the next level up. And then after that, there would then be, of course, being able to do it full-time as I want to and have been, but also contributing towards bills and being able to provide for the future, you know, building up a pension and things like that, so that I don't do this and pour my heart and soul into it and work really hard for my life and then end up poor and struggling in later life. So Chris says, you've mentioned Board Game Trading and Chat UK. What other good communities have you found / do you use online to promote and grow? I've mostly had success growing and becoming part of a Reddit community, but nowhere else. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of had the opposite, Chris, because I mean, you've probably seen, like, whenever I try and do anything on Reddit, it just falls completely flat. It gets completely downvoted, and it's not even promoting. I mean, I'm surprised at how well it has worked with you doing promotional posts on Reddit, because everything I see is they hate contributors, they hate creators, and they want nothing to do with them, and anyone who posts their own content we will kind of burn with torches kind of attitude. And somehow you've managed to avoid that, which is great for you, and I'm really pleased to see that. And you probably actually get more views from your Reddit source. You know, you get a huge amount of people viewing and interacting on there compared to anything I've managed, and you've done that in a very short time, very few videos, so that's incredibly impressive, I will say. As for communities, I would say the way to look at communities is not communities that are good to be in for the sake of promotion and growth. I don't really feel there are any communities that are good for that. Where I've mentioned Board Game Trading and Chat, it's a community I'm part of and very active in. I do less so in the last few weeks where I've been struggling with social media, but previously, you know, regular posts on there, and it's not, oh, here's this video, it's just posting, you know, questions, interactions, thoughts, pictures, the typical thing that every other gamer does. And that's the thing, I try and treat all of these social medias as communities, but then as a part of that community I want to go, look, I've done this thing, it's really exciting occasionally as well. And so Board Game Trading and Chat have been very willing to allow me to post that. They haven't then been very supportive, actually, of them watching, interacting, etc. Some people on there are, but for the most part, a lot of people have just blocked me and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, with regards to other communities that I think are particularly good to be in, I guess what I mean by good is where I have found the reception from Reddit to be so horrible and nasty. Other communities that I found to be that way, the Board Game Geek Facebook group is very much that way. And the board game group, literally just called the board game group on Facebook, can be that way quite a lot of the time. That's an international group and can be a bit at times. So I do a bit of posting there, a bit of interacting, but it can go bad quite quickly sometimes. Board Game Spotlight, which is one started by James Hudson on Facebook. He does Druid City games, and he also does his own YouTube channel and stuff. He started that group. That's mostly US in there, I would say, but that seems to be a really nice, receptive. They have a kind of motto about being Care Bears, for example, and they seem to do pretty well on keeping it that way and keeping things positive and nice rather than laying into people, etc. So that's definitely a good community. Twitter is an interesting one because you can't really have a community in Twitter so much. Like, I've set up my own kind of groups of people that I try and interact with more on Twitter and stuff, but it's so large and so much that of all the social medias I'm on, other than Reddit, that's the hardest to really keep up with and be reacting to people and stuff. And I find, you know, even shortlisting it to, say, sorry, the 20, 30 media creators who I like, admire, or really just get on well with, such as yourself, Chris, and trying to just comment and like and share and be involved with their stuff on Twitter. I find that, you leave it a few hours, you've got a couple of hundred posts there to go through, and it takes a lot of time, and I just find it very difficult. So, where were we? So that was communities from Chris. Chris then says, sorry for all the questions, you just have great insight and knowledge. I don't know about that, I'm just very vocal, I think, rather than having great insight and knowledge. And I think the key thing is that there are plenty of people who know a lot more than me about this stuff, but they seem less willing to share. It's as if they're scared to share their secrets and other people will do better than them or something. That at least seems the case. Like, I found when I started out, and that's why I started Diaries, and why I have a kind of an open book policy, that I don't keep anything hidden. I share my finances, I share everything. I just want to be open and honest and help other people in a way that I was unable to get help when I started. And I contacted some people, and some people were more helpful than others. But when you were like, oh, okay, so what about this? What about costs? What do you do with this? What do you do with that? People are quite closed about it, I found, especially the people who are most successful. And I guess maybe that's because they have the most to lose by giving away those secrets. So Adam asks, there is Facebook groups. One is UK Tabletop Kickstarters and Board Game Exposure. Yes, I forgot to mention Board Game Exposure. So Board Game Exposure is actually a collection of reviewers as well, but they've also started up, it's Martin Paul started this whole idea up, and they share copies of games between them, and they have the Board Game Exposure Facebook group. That doesn't quite have a community feel to me. However, it is a nice place to be. The attitude, the feel from people, it's all very welcoming, it's all very inviting. But it is very much a place for exposure, not a community. It's a place to post articles, to post news. It's not a place, from what I have seen and my experiences of it, of chat and community. It is a place to simply promote. But that's what they've set out to do, to be a place to promote, whether it's to other people in the industry or whatever. With the UK Tabletop Kickstarters, that's specifically kind of focused towards industry. So although I do love that community and I think that is a great community, that isn't the same because it's very much focused from publishers and reviewers, insider view. However, if you're not in that, Chris, as a content creator, I would definitely advise, as a UK content creator, that you join that. And you'll find out about events such as the Inside the Box, networking events and stuff like that. And it's just a good way, much like I'm doing here, of sharing information, sharing knowledge, of that happening on a wider scale with more people. So that's definitely one to join if you are in the industry and in the UK. So then Chris asked, have you considered Patreon? Might be able to get enough to cover games each month. I have considered Patreon. I don't like the idea of Patreon because I don't like a constant, please back my Patreon, please back me, please support me, begging kind of aspect. Also, as a person myself, I do not like Patreon. I do not like to back Patreon. I don't want money going out monthly. I would much rather go, this is what I can afford and this is what I will pay for the year. And Patreon isn't really set up for that. It's set up for the, you do £1 a month or whatever. And it's like, well, then that's a minimum £12 for the year. And it's like, I'd be much more willing to just go for the £1. It's very much a different beast to what works for me. There is another reason that I use Kickstarter. Now, I saw in a group recently that people were saying, oh, you can't rely on Kickstarter for advertising, Kickstarter doesn't give you advertising, etc. That is a lie. The big part of why I use Kickstarter is you create a Kickstarter, it is pushed to thousands of people. Because it will appear as a new project, people will see that. There are people who browse the tabletop games and will see your thing. It works to advertise. over 50% of my funding came from people who saw me through browsing Kickstarter, through Kickstarter notifications, emails, because they follow me on Kickstarter, etc., even though they don't watch the channel itself. Things like that. So Kickstarter had a huge effect and a huge benefit for actually being the crowdfunding source that the crowdfunding means that I chose to use. So Chris says, honestly, my mind is blown by my reception. I'm guessing that's on Reddit. Yeah, people just really seem to not like me there every time. It's not even just promoting. It's like I go, here's some other people's videos, and it just gets downvoted. I ask a question, it just gets downvoted. It's like, wow, so many people seem to have this attitude. You're a content creator, bad, and just downvote. And yeah, I absolutely astounded by it. So then Adam says, I can somewhat relate. I feel it's hard to talk about what you're doing as part of the community, as you don't want to give the wrong impression. So this, yeah, as I was saying, I focus on being the part of a community, but I do then also want to share what I'm doing because I care about what I'm doing. I'm excited by what I'm doing, and I want to share it with other people. And I'm not just doing this because I want to be in a closed box doing it on my own. So I do want to be able to share that with other people. And yeah, I mean, as Adam's making a game, he understands that completely. You know, when he does something new with his game or in playtests, he wants to share that. But then people look at that as promoting. They don't look at it as a member of our community sharing what they're doing in the same way as someone else going and playing. Like, say I was not a creator, but I was just someone going and playing a game, and I'd share, I just played this game and I had this fantastic time with it. And that's the same thing we're doing. It's just what we're doing in relation to tabletop gaming, because we care about it and are so involved with it, is creating content, be it a game or videos or whatever. And people don't seem to understand it that way. And I can understand it from someone outside of that bubble. It's hard to not just see it as pushing the content and going, you must watch our content. So yeah, I think that's definitely a thing that will never really change, potentially, because I think part of it is there are people who do that. That oddly, what I've found is I'm aware of people who do that, who are YouTube creators and stuff, but they manage to do it with people still seeing them as part of the community. And yet I look at what they're doing and I see, this is blatant promotion. This isn't you being a part of the community. This is you doing this purely from a promotional point of view with no interest in what someone then says or does. And I guess this probably keys into a lot of my social anxieties, a lot of the fact that I am not very socially capable. I struggle to have conversations with people, etc. And it's the same sort of thing. And these people who are managing to promote and be so effective, they are people who are the centre of attention. They're the life of the party type people. You know, your Tom Vassals who get energised by being in a room full of people. They are your extroverts, and they just manage better than introverts do. So then we've got Chris. Sorry, yeah, I meant a community to become part of, not to use for promoting. I kind of assumed you did mean that. I just wanted to make clear the difference of being part of and promoting, etc. And then Chris then says, Diaries is one of my favourite YouTube series. Well, that's great. Thank you for that. I know it's not a terribly entertaining one. It's much more kind of an informational, and I guess it can be entertaining for some people if you're in the industry. It's there to be kind of, you're not alone. There is someone else going through the same things as you, and can potentially, you know, you can gain some insight from it. And I love kind of feedback, because I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy who decided to start doing this. Yes, I've learnt a lot along the way, and I'm happy to share that. But you guys have had different experiences, and I want to learn from you too. So I'm always welcome to information and feedback from you as well. So Chris says, he's been through a lot of them, and there is always something really interesting covered. Well, I don't know about always. let's be honest here. Some videos are more interesting than others, such as like this one. Obviously, I've talked a lot about live stuff, and I did actually talk about the fact that I tried to do an event and it all crashed on me and went wrong, so that got deleted, and then I've started this up. I don't think I did, but yeah, I have no idea. I've not actually been keeping an eye on the video, so I think at the moment I'm actually just frozen solid. Looking the software I've been using, XSplit, as I was saying, crashed when I was doing my first attempt, and it looks like it's crashed this time too. But given that people have still been asking questions, I'm going to assume that the volume is still coming out okay, because it looks like it crashed half an hour ago, and I've been just so involved in answering everyone's questions that I had no idea that was going on. So apologies for the frozen video, the fact that that's just been completely frozen, half an hour, so the chat's not been showing on screen or anything. I don't know what to do about that. The XSplit seems to be the best software I can use, so that is an issue. Let me try, if I push it live again, that does, well, it's still frozen, but it has updated it, so that's interesting. So okay, basically this proves I might have trouble using this software to do a live play, because we're not going to have the video. So that is a shame. Anyway, going back to the chat, because I've been focused on trying to sort out the trouble. That might be why people have been coming and going. They've been coming and going, oh, it's just frozen screen and leaving. Lost my place now in the chat. Sam says, I find it's nice to chat with you as you're such a nice person. Thanks, Sam. I like to think I'm a nice person, but I honestly have no idea what a nice person really classes as. So it looks like the chat is now actually updating on the video. Well, that's good at least, with new stuff that's coming in. Yeah, the audio is fine, Chris says, but the pardon me, but the video has been frozen, so that's very much, yeah, it's been like a podcast, which is a shame. Yeah, as I say, I don't know what I can do about that. Chris then suggests OBS. I don't know what OBS is, so I'm not sure. I started from the point of view of I wanted to be using YouTube, because I view YouTube as the home of the channel, that's the focus of the channel. And so that's where I kind of wanted to be live on. I did consider just going live to Facebook, etc. I don't know what OBS is, as I say, I'll have to look into that. But when I looked at the kind of options from YouTube, of kind of suggested options, the only one that gave a free option with allowing me to pull in potentially multiple cameras, etc., that I could find that was in their list was XSplit. There were some other things like Wirecast, some others that I looked into, and just the free versions were never going to be able to do what I wanted to do, and it would have been like hundreds of dollars, so hundreds of pounds, to actually get to use them. So yeah, I'll have to look into OBS and see if that will be better, because I don't think that's one I looked into. Adamson says, I am a socially awkward penguin. I think the number one thing I struggle with is if I ask something like, say, can you do X? People seem to think I want it done immediately rather than me asking in advance. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I unfortunately, when it comes to social stuff, I'm never going to be someone to give good advice. But yeah, I mean, the key thing is we know we're not alone in these things, and that as long as we can keep going, and hopefully people will learn to be more understanding of these things. I think if people are all just more understanding, less prone to jump to judgments, etc., life will be better for everyone. So. Kristen says, open broadcasting service. It's similar to XSplit for the OBS. So yeah, I'll have to check out that open broadcasting service. Obviously, I won't do it while we're on live. I had actually planned to be finished by now, but it's fine. I'll just have a shorter lunch break before I get on with recording this afternoon, which is why I've actually got this. I was just gesturing, which you won't be able to see because of the frozen feed. I don't know if I can. Let's try. I think the issue might be the camera. I can push live to outside. Let me try something. Okay, well I made it worse. It now just says camera not available. So the issue is actually my webcam, not the software, it looks like. Possibly. Yeah, I don't know what I can really do to sort it out. So we'll just leave it not working, I guess. What I might just do is remove the camera completely. Might make most sense. The whole computer's gone really slow suddenly. Okay, so I'm pushing it just so we've got the chat live only now. So there we go. So as it's not showing me anyway, we might as well just have that up. And that will hopefully be better. So where were we? So similar to XSplit, generally preferred by Twitch streamers at least. Well, I've heard that the Twitch streamers are the best, so I'll have to look into it and see how compatible it is with YouTube. Maybe it's better, maybe it costs, I don't really know. So that's software, not service. Yeah, I'd kind of assumed software even though I read service. Because, yeah, why wouldn't it be? Have I tried turning it off and on again? No, because if I did that, it would obviously kill the live stream and it would be a separate then video. So that's why I've not done that. Too much of the IT crowd. Oh, but the IT crowd was so good. That was very good. Plus, it's actually true. I've spoken to people who work in IT support, and it's ridiculous. 9 times out of 10, turn it off and on again is the solution. And also what's amazing is the number of people who the problem is that it's not plugged in and stuff like that. Like, literally, my computer's not working. Have you tried plugging it in? Type responses is hilarious. Yeah, because at one point one of my friends worked for it was one of the school IT support, so he was based local to here type thing, but they were on phone support for the schools, and some of the stuff they got was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I love that they have board games too. They don't have very good ones in the office, but they do have that amazing episode where they play D&D. I think that's absolutely fantastic, where they do the D&D stag do. It's just so good, and I think so many people judge like roleplay and D&D and stuff before really giving it a chance, and I think if they did, it would be better. They would enjoy it in the way that they do in that. If you've not seen the IT Crowd, you really must. I believe it's actually available. If you go on 4OD, I think it's in their box sets, or at least it was like 6 months ago, I think. So yeah, if you can, I highly recommend watching that. Or Adam says it's also on Netflix, so if you have Netflix, which I don't have. I really, really wish I had Netflix. But it's one of those things. It's saved money by not having it. But there's so many shows that are on Netflix that I'm like, I would so watch that if it was on anything other than Netflix. Mostly like all the DC stuff. But yeah, Chris, I highly recommend you check it out. It's really funny. It really is. Some episodes are better than others, and having said it's really funny, actually, I've not watched it in an awful long time, so it might be it's not aged well, but that would be interesting to find out. I'm not sure what you're saying is cooperative storytelling, Adam. But yeah. So, right, I think we got any... Oh, more questions? Oh, D&D. I mean, I think it's more than just cooperative storytelling. It kind of depends on how you do it and how you GM it as well, I would say. But I would say your GM is your storyteller to a large degree, but you are a character, and then the GM will explain to you how your choice of actions, etc., affect the world. And there is also a game there with regards to having statistics, having abilities and stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you're into role-playing, and I quite like role-play. I mean, I don't know if you saw the kind of impromptu chat. I think you did, because I think you commented on it, that happened on Friday. I spoke a lot about the fact that a lot of my gaming, especially in my uni years, was role-play games, so... Thanks, Chris. Enjoy your shopping. Yeah, I think we'll probably be ending in a minute anyway, because we are over 12 and I'm getting quite hungry. So, Adam says, I love role-playing, currently playing Battletech. Yeah, I mean, I don't really get to do any role-play games at the moment. I find the computer ones aren't as much fun as doing it with a group of people, and it's just getting the same group of people together. I spend so much time playing board games really now. But yeah, I enjoy that, so that's all good. So I think the final thing I'm going to do then, I think we're going to end the questions there. I want to thank everyone who's been on, who's been interacting and stuff. And as always, thanks for watching, and bye for now. And let's see if my queuing up of the credits will work. It doesn't look like it's going to. Let's try it. Is it working?